New York. A clear June morning, yet brimming with hidden storms. On Fifth Avenue, the crowds bustled as on any other day. But at St. Patrick's Cathedral, where the soaring dome embraced the rays of early summer sunlight, today was no ordinary day. It was the wedding of Nicholas Johnson, the youngest and most powerful billionaire in America, the man all of Manhattan called by a name laced with both reverence and fear: the Cold King. Outside the cathedral, rows of luxury cars lined the street, the flash of cameras gleaming. Business tycoons, politicians, and the elite of high society, dressed in their most lavish attire, crowded in. They were all waiting for a moment, the handshake sealing an alliance between two dynasties, Johnson Group and Green Empire. However, few paid attention to the young woman who would walk into marriage today. Victoria Green, heiress of the Green family, draped in a pure white gown encrusted with Swarovski crystals, strode proudly like a queen. To her, this was not merely a wedding. This was a triumph. The sound of the organ swelled, and white rose petals fell with each step of the bride. The hall fell silent. Every gaze followed Victoria as she advanced toward the altar, where Nicholas Johnson stood in a simple yet flawless black tuxedo. The man was tall, broad-shouldered, his golden hair catching the light beneath the vaulted ceiling. But his blue eyes, cold, lifeless, as though they belonged nowhere here. He stood there, a perfect marble statue, yet seemingly without breath. The sacred cathedral glowed with candlelight, but Nicholas did not glance at the bride drawing near. The hall was hushed, broken only by Victoria's racing heartbeat, satisfied that she had placed Nicholas at her side, satisfied with power and status. "Ladies and gentlemen," the pastor's solemn voice rang out, ready to speak the vows. But in that instant, the cathedral doors burst open. A gust of summer wind rushed inside, lifting the white ribbons. Every guest turned their head. Against the glowing doorway, a silhouette appeared. A woman, bronze skin shimmering in the sunlight, curls loosely tied, deep and proud eyes. Amara Williams. She wore no glittering evening gown, only a simple red dress, yet it blazed like fire. Each step forward echoed across the marble floor, the stiletto heels striking through the false solemnity of the hall. The crowd erupted. "Who is that?" Whispers rippled. "An intruder?" Victoria froze, the smile on her lips turning to stone. Amara halted at the center of the aisle, head held high. Her voice carried, powerful yet trembling. "Mr. Johnson, don't do this. You cannot marry someone you don't love." The air exploded. Reporters scrambled to lift their cameras. Guests gasped. The pastor faltered, silenced mid-phrase. Victoria hissed through clenched teeth. "Who are you? Who gave you the right to disrupt this wedding?" Amara turned, locking eyes with Nicholas. Her gaze glistened, a storm of despair and courage all at once. "You once promised that you would never choose a marriage of convenience. You promised to follow your heart. Or were all the words you said to me nothing but lies?" Nicholas closed his eyes, his lips pressed tight, jaw clenched, as though under unbearable pressure. The cathedral froze. The man finally spoke, his voice low, steady. "Victoria, I'm sorry. Even if Amara hadn't come today, I still could not marry you. The one I love has never been you." Whispers exploded like wildfire. Victoria's face drained of color, her hands trembling. Tears streamed, laced with fury. "You? For her? For someone with nothing?" Nicholas stepped forward, approaching Amara. He stopped before her, gazing deep into the eyes that had haunted him for years. "Amara Williams, forgive me for letting it come to this. I will not let you endure another humiliation." Those words struck like lightning on a clear sky. The wedding was shattered. The Johnson-Green alliance collapsed in an instant. Reporters clicked frantically. Tomorrow's headlines destined to be a scandal shaking all of America. Victoria screamed. Her mother fainted, and the Green shareholders angrily flushed. But Nicholas did not care. He seized Amara's hand, cold, yet firmly clasped. "Let's go," he said, pulling her out of the cathedral amid the chaos behind them. The New York sunlight blazed, but Amara's heart trembled. She never imagined herself doing something so reckless, storming into the wedding of Manhattan's coldest billionaire. "You're insane," she whispered, tears falling. "Perhaps." Nicholas gave a faint smile, his eyes shadowed with pain and resolve. "But insanity is worth it, as long as it's with you." Amara looked up and saw in his blue eyes no longer ice, but a fire smoldering within. And this was only the beginning of a storm of passion. The lavish wedding turned to tragedy. The billion-dollar alliance lay in ruins. One declaration of love, one grasp of the hand, had opened the floodgates to a turbulent future for Nicholas and Amara. Would this love withstand schemes, hatred, and the gulf of class? Or was it only a flame destined to be snuffed out in the power storm? If your heart trembled at the scene just now, don't forget to leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and hit follow so you won't miss the next thrilling chapters. Every word of encouragement inspires us to continue telling this tempestuous love story to its very end. Night fell over Manhattan. The city never slept, yet inside the towering penthouse overlooking the Hudson River, a soft, golden light poured across Nicholas Johnson's contemplative face. Amara sat a short distance away, quietly hugging her arms. She still could not believe what had happened that morning, the lavish wedding she had stormed in and destroyed. So many cameras, so many scrutinizing eyes. By now, surely all of New York was drowning in headlines about Nicholas and her. The room was silent. Only the steady ticking of the grandfather clock echoed, each beat like invisible footsteps walking through the corridors of memory. Nicholas took a sip of whiskey, the smoky heat burning his throat. He set the glass down and suddenly spoke. "Amara, do you remember Brooklyn 10 years ago?" The question pierced her heart like an unexpected arrow. That year, New York was colder than usual. Snow blanketed the red brick rooftops of old Brooklyn. A blond boy stumbled as he ran in a narrow alley where children often played ball. Nicholas, only 15 at the time, had fled from his birthday party, forced upon him by his father. He despised the false luxury, the calculating gazes of the adults around him. He needed air. He craved freedom. But freedom can be dangerous. In his headlong rush, he slipped onto the old subway tracks. A truck barreled down the road toward him. In that instant, time seemed to freeze. Nicholas remembered clearly. He thought his life was ending at 15, before he ever had the chance to live genuinely. And then, a pair of warm hands yanked him to the sidewalk. They both tumbled into the snow, gasping for breath. He looked up and met a pair of black, jewel-like eyes glistening in the frosty winter air. A girl with bronze skin and curls tied back with a worn red ribbon. She smiled, her cheeks flushed pink from the cold. "You've got to be more careful. Do you have a death wish?" Nicholas was stunned. He had never seen a smile like that before. Not the artificial smiles of wealthy heiresses, not the deceitful looks of adults. That smile, pure, honest, like sunlight breaking through the ice. The boy noticed a small heart-shaped birthmark peeking from beneath her thin sweater. "What's your name?" Nicholas asked, his voice trembling. "Amara. Amara Williams." From that moment, her name was carved into his memory. In the following days, Nicholas kept finding ways to return to that Brooklyn street, despite his driver and bodyguard's complaints. He and Amara became an unlikely pair of friends. He told her about the lavish parties filled with false laughter. She told him about her cramped little house where her mother worked 2 jobs to raise 3 children. Once, Nicholas asked, "Don't you ever feel resentful, living like that?" Amara only smiled. "What's the point of resentment? I still have my mother, my sisters, and music. You can always find happiness if you have a reason to live." Nicholas fell silent. She planted a strange seed inside him of hope and resilience. On the last winter afternoon before Nicholas was sent away to study in Switzerland, he found Amara under the old maple tree on the corner. Snow fell heavily, yet she still sat there, cradling the battered toy piano her late father had left her. Nicholas held out his hand, solemn. "Amara, please wait for me. 10 years, 20 years, however long it takes. When I have the strength, I'll come back for you." Amara's eyes widened. "Are you crazy? Your world and mine are oceans apart. How can you say that?" But Nicholas only smiled. He tugged down the collar of her sweater, gently touching the heart-shaped birthmark. "No matter how long it takes, I'll find this mark again. I'll recognize you, Amara." She froze, her eyes shimmering, then gave the faintest nod. "All right, if you truly come back." In that moment, 2 children sealed a fateful promise beneath the snow-laden maple tree. But life was never simple. Nicholas was sent to Switzerland, then England, then Harvard. His father, the real estate tycoon, strictly controlled all of his connections, erasing every trace Nicholas had left in Brooklyn. Amara vanished from his world like a dream. And yet, through all the years of his youth, he saw those eyes, that smile, that heart-shaped mark whenever Nicholas closed his eyes. He threw himself into work, building the Johnson Group empire, but no one ever entered his heart, because he believed his true love had been destined since that winter day. Amara trembled as Nicholas spoke of Brooklyn. Tears welled in her eyes. You still remember?" Nicholas stepped closer, his hand lifting her chin, forcing her gaze to meet his. "I remember every detail, your smile, the red ribbon, and the birthmark." He paused, as if afraid to hurt her. "Amara, I've searched for you for 10 years, but you disappeared. I thought I had lost you forever." Her voice caught, her heart surging with 1,000 emotions. In those 10 years, she had endured so much. Her father's death, her mother's illness, crushing debt, demeaning jobs to raise her sisters. She had never imagined Nicholas still remembered her. You're that Nicholas?" Her voice cracked. He nodded, his eyes glowing, like ice lit by the sun. Silence wrapped around them. Beyond the glass, Manhattan's lights twinkled like 1,000 stars. Amara's trembling fingers pulled down her collar slightly, revealing the heart-shaped birthmark. Nicholas froze. His entire body stiffened. Then his hand, shaking, reached out to touch the mark. The symbol of fate. "I wasn't wrong. You are that girl." A tear slid down Amara's cheek. She did not know if it was happiness or fear. 10 years apart had made them so different. Nicholas pulled her into his arms, holding her tight, as though to make up for the decade they had lost. "I promised, and I kept my word. Even after 10 years I found you," Nicholas whispered against her ear. Amara trembled. "But Nicholas, you're a billionaire, the king of Manhattan, and I'm just a poor girl. How can we?" Nicholas silenced her with a kiss on the forehead. "Amara, to me, it's only you. Status, wealth, they mean nothing. Without you, All of it is an empty shell. She choked back tears, her heart twisting. But deep within, the fire buried for so long began to smolder again. Meanwhile, outside the penthouse, the city did not sleep. The press, social media, and shareholders were ablaze over the century's broken engagement that morning. Victoria Green would not give up easily. In the shadows, she hurled her wineglass to the floor, her eyes flashing with hatred. Amara Williams, you'll pay for stealing Nicholas from me. From the corner stepped another man, Richard Miller, Johnson Group's business rival. Victoria, we can work together. You want Nicholas? I want his company. And that girl will be the pawn. A cruel laugh echoed, heralding the storm to come. Inside the warm room, Nicholas and Amara had finally found each other again after 10 years apart. The promise beneath the maple tree had come true. But the world held more than love. Power, schemes, jealousy, all waited to drag them into the whirlpool. Neither knew that what they had just regained would soon face trials harsher than anything in the past. Amara returned to her small Harlem apartment with a storm inside her heart. The room was barely over 30 square meters. The walls were damp, and the dining table doubled as her younger sister's study desk. Jazz music drifted up from the apartment below, mixed with the street noise outside. She sat on an old chair, her trembling hand brushing over her shoulder, where the heart-shaped birthmark lay. She had hidden it for years, treating it as a piece of the distant past. But now, Nicholas had found it, reigniting a promise she thought had long rotted with time. She couldn't dare believe things would be simple. Between her, a black woman juggling 3 jobs to pay debts and care for her family, and him, the Manhattan billionaire the world adored, yawned an abyss. And could love alone ever build a bridge across such an abyss? New York's media never missed a scandal involving Nicholas Johnson. After the broken engagement that rocked the city, the name Amara Williams began to flood online tabloids, TV screens, and social media feeds. They dug up every scrap of information about the poor black girl. Photos of her working at a cafe, unpaid tuition debt, even malicious rumors that she had tried seducing wealthy men. Reading those words felt like knives cutting into Amara's chest. At work in the cafe, she endured whispers behind her back. That's her, the one who barged into the $1 billion wedding. Pretty plain if you ask me. Probably just good at gold digging. Every word pierced her dignity like a needle. But Amara did not cry. She only lowered her head and kept working in silence. One rainy evening, Amara finished her shift late. She hurried home when a black sports car stopped before her. The car door swung open. Nicholas stepped out, his face cold, a far cry from his gentle expression when reminiscing about Brooklyn. Get in. His voice was sharp as a blade. Amara froze. Nicholas, He cut her off, his eyes darkening. I tried to believe in you. But why did you meet with Richard Miller? Amara's heart sank. Richard, Nicholas's most significant rival, had once approached her, offering help with her debts. She had refused, but a damning photo had spread in the press. Her sitting in a cafe across from Richard, tension clear on her face. It's not what you think, Amara pleaded. Nicholas let out a cold laugh. I let you into my world, and this is how you use it? To sell me out? Each word struck like a hammer. Amara stood frozen, desperate to explain, but Nicholas's anger had already clouded everything. The next day, Amara received a document. It wasn't a job offer, nor a chance to save her family from debt. It was a work contract. Position: temporary maid at the Johnson estate. At the bottom was Nicholas's signature. Amara bit her lip hard. It was nothing short of humiliation, but her sister still needed medicine. Her mother's hospital bills were still unpaid. She couldn't refuse. "All right, I'll do it," Amara whispered, as if signing a sentence upon herself. Nicholas's mansion on the Upper East Side was an architectural masterpiece. White columns towering, rose gardens in bloom, and a swimming pool stretching 15 meters. Inside, marble floors gleamed, and the high ceilings bore Italian frescoes. Amara, in her plain maid's uniform, stepped into that world with a heavy heart. The butlers and maids eyed her with disdain. They had read the tabloids. They knew who she was. To them, Amara was nothing more than a failed social climber, now reduced to servitude. Nicholas appeared in a flawless black suit in the corridor, his cold gaze passing over her as though she were a stranger. "Get to work," he said curtly, then turned away. On her first day, Amara was assigned to clean the wine cellar. The vast room spanned hundreds of square meters, holding thousands of rare bottles. While arranging them, she accidentally dropped a 1945 Bordeaux, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The bottle shattered, the rich scent of wine flooding the air. Before she could recover, Nicholas appeared. His eyes burned at the sight. "Can you survive in my world?" His voice cut like ice. Amara trembled, bowing down to pick up the shards, her hands sliced and bleeding. She didn't argue, didn't defend herself. Nicholas clenched his fists. For a moment, a pang of pity flickered inside him, but pride and anger buried it deep. Amara sat quietly in her tiny staff room at the far end of the hall at the end of the day. Her fingers were bandaged, still throbbing with pain. She looked out the small window. In the distance, Manhattan's lights glowed brilliantly. A world too far away. A world she seemed never to belong to. Silent tears slid down her cheeks. Even when she cried, Amara made sure no one could hear. In his private room, Nicholas stood before the tall window. He held a glass of wine but did not drink. The image of Amara kneeling to pick up the broken shards haunted him. Why had his heart twisted like that? Why couldn't he rid himself of her image? He remembered the promise from 10 years ago. He remembered the pure smile of the Brooklyn girl. But then the image of Amara sitting across from Richard Miller in that photo resurfaced, stabbing him like a knife. "Amara, who are you?" Nicholas muttered, his voice hoarse. In the following days, Amara was constantly given the most complex tasks, scrubbing the pool in the winter chill, polishing the marble floors the size of a plaza, dusting the endless rows of bookshelves. Whenever Nicholas passed by, his glance remained cold and distant, yet there were moments when Amara felt his eyes linger a little longer, as though he wanted to say something, but stopped. She couldn't tell if it was suspicion or inner conflict. While Amara was cleaning the living room one evening, Victoria Green suddenly appeared. Dressed in a dazzling gown, her eyes burned with hatred as they locked on Amara. "So it's true. You are working here as a maid." Victoria sneered. Amara bit her lip, silent. Victoria stepped closer, whispering, "Do you think Nicholas will love a worthless girl forever? Don't fool yourself. I'll make sure you disappear from his life, permanently." The threat hung sharp as a blade. Amara only clenched her fists tighter, reminding herself to stay strong. Because she knew the actual storm had only just begun. That weekend, the Johnson mansion blazed with lights. An elite party was held to soothe public opinion after the canceled engagement with Victoria Green. Socialites in silk gowns, businessmen in tuxedos, all glittered beneath the crystal chandeliers. Amara, dressed in her plain maid's uniform, the white collar already a little frayed, carefully carried a tray of wine through the glamorous crowd. With every step, she felt the weight of scrutinizing stares. Whispered words struck her ears. "Isn't that the girl who ruined Nicholas's wedding? I heard she's working as a maid in his house now." How humiliating. Black, poor, yet dreaming of climbing high. Each chuckle stabbed her pride like a needle. Amara lowered her head, her hands trembling slightly, but still kept the tray steady. She would not allow herself to collapse. From across the room, Nicholas stood speaking with a circle of politicians. His navy suit highlighted his blue eyes, his composed aura commanding caution from everyone around him. Yet amid the dry conversation, Nicholas's gaze drifted unconsciously toward Amara. He saw her slight bow of the head, her thin fingers gripping the tray. He saw the warm bronze of her skin reflecting under the lights. He saw her figure adrift in this dazzling world. His chest tightened, but at once he turned away, forcing himself back into cold composure. Victoria Green suddenly appeared at the party. She wore an emerald gown, eyes sharp as ice, and walked straight toward Amara. "Well, isn't this Manhattan's most famous maid?" Victoria's voice rang loud, ensuring every guest heard. Ripples of laughter spread through the hall. Amara bit her lip, staying silent. Victoria reached for a glass of wine from the tray and flung it to the floor. Crystal shattered, red wine spreading beneath Amara's feet. "Clean it. That's your job." The air grew suffocating. Every gaze turned to Amara, waiting to see her reaction. Amara bent down, gathering shards. Her fingers sliced again, blood seeping out. Yet she uttered not a sound. Nicholas stepped forward. The hall fell silent, expecting him to side with Victoria. But Nicholas's voice was cold. "Please clean it up. Don't let the guests trip." A dagger straight to Amara's heart. She bowed her head lower, scrubbing the stain with a cloth, swallowing her pride. After the party, Amara slipped away quietly. Outside, sudden rain poured down, soaking her hair and uniform. She sat alone on the kitchen porch, shivering, her eyes vacant. The cold rain couldn't extinguish the fire of pain burning inside. Why had she agreed to work here? Why put herself in this place of scorn? Because her sister needed medicine, because her family needed money. But deep in her heart, she knew because of one man, Nicholas Johnson. Nicholas passed by and saw her sitting in the rain. His steps faltered. He wanted to call her name, drape a coat over her shoulders, and say a gentle word. But pride held him back. He stood in the shadows, watching her small frame tremble. In the end, he only clenched his fists and walked away. After the party, Amara became the talk of the city. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire's ex-lover now works as his maid." Inside the mansion, the disdain grew. The head butler gave her the most complex tasks. Unclogging drains, scrubbing marble floors vast as plazas, cleaning bathtubs in unused guest rooms. Once, she was ordered to bring documents to Nicholas's office. When she entered, he was bent over papers, not even glancing up. "Leave them there." His tone was indifferent. She set the stack down and turned away. But her trembling hand left a smear of blood on the edge of the paper. Her old wound, not yet healed. Nicholas noticed. His grip on the pen tightened, but he said nothing. While scrubbing the hallway floor one afternoon, Amara overheard voices from the living room. Victoria and Richard Miller. Richard said that Nicholas would lose focus if we pushed Amara out. "Then the Johnson group will be ours." Amara froze. So she was nothing but a pawn in their power game. Just then, the door flung open. Victoria stepped out and saw Amara. Her eyes gleamed. "Oh, so you heard everything." A cruel smile spread. Before Amara could react, Victoria shoved her hard. She fell onto the stone floor, her shoulders searing with pain. Richard sneered. "Trash. No one will believe you anyway." They walked off, leaving Amara alone, choking on bitterness. That night, Amara crossed paths with Nicholas in the library. He was flipping through files, exhaustion on his face. She couldn't hold back. "Why do you keep me here, letting me be humiliated like this? I'm not a puppet for your world." Nicholas looked up, his eyes glacial. "You think I forced you into this? You chose to accept, because my family had no choice." Amara's voice broke, tears streaming. "You don't understand. You have everything. I have nothing but my pride. And day after day, you and everyone else are crushing even that last piece." Nicholas froze. For the first time, he saw Amara crying not from weakness, but from wounded dignity. He wanted to reach out, to wipe her tears. But instead, his hand clenched so tight, his knuckles turned white. That night, Nicholas stood alone by the window. Manhattan sparkled with light, but his heart was hollow. He remembered the little girl in Brooklyn, who smiled brightly despite poverty, and he realized that he had turned that smile into tears. "Amara," he whispered, "I will find the truth, and I won't let you be hurt again." But Nicholas didn't know. Even as he made that vow, Victoria and Richard had already begun a larger plan. A trap had been laid, not only to destroy Amara, but to bring down Johnson Group itself. When the storm hit, the love between Nicholas and Amara was tested to its very limits. Thick clouds covered Manhattan's night sky. Victoria Green and Richard Miller sat across from each other in a luxurious suite at the Plaza Hotel. A glass of red wine swirled in Richard's hand, reflecting his sinister smile. "Amara Williams." Richard smirked. "She's Nicholas's deadliest weakness." Victoria folded her arms, jealousy flickering in her eyes. "What I want isn't just to bring Nicholas down. I want her gone, never again able to look me in the eye." Richard nodded slowly. "Then let me handle it. A sweet little trap, one that will disarm Nicholas and leave Amara in shame she can never recover from." The clink of their glasses mingled with the rise and fall of jazz. A dangerous performance was set in motion. The next morning, the butler handed Amara an envelope. "Miss, this is a special invitation. The sender insisted you must attend." Amara opened it and found a silver card with ornate patterns. "Charity Gala for poor children in Harlem." A well-known philanthropist signed it. Her heart fluttered. She had once dreamed of being in such events, where she could speak for needy children. But now, she was only a maid. "Perhaps it's a mistake," she murmured. But the butler emphasized. The sender made it clear. "This card is for you." Amara gripped the card tightly, an uneasy premonition stirring inside her. That evening, Amara stepped into the grand ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria. She wore a floor-length navy gown borrowed from an old friend, not as resplendent as the other ladies' dresses, but it highlighted her slender figure. Spotlights shone on the center, where influential business people and politicians exchanged handshakes and words. Amara drew a deep breath, reminding herself to stay calm. She had no idea that from a corner of the room, Victoria and Richard watched silently, cruel smiles tugging at their lips. Midway through the gala, the MC suddenly spoke. "Tonight, we have a special guest who will share words about compassion and rising from hardship. Please welcome Miss Amara Williams." The hall stirred with shock. Every gaze swung toward Amara. She froze, her heart pounding. Her heart. Who had put her name here? Under the blinding lights, Amara walked onto the stage. Her throat tightened, but then she thought of the children of Harlem, of her younger sister, and resolved to speak. "Life has taught me that poverty cannot steal one's dignity. We all have the right to dream, no matter the circumstances." Her voice was warm, trembling, yet sincere. Many listened, moved. The hall fell gradually silent. Victoria narrowed her eyes. Impressive. But let's see how long that light lasts. Just as Amara stepped down from the podium, a giant screen flickered to life. Images appeared. Blurry photos of Amara leaving Nicholas's home at midnight, carrying food into his room, smiling with him on the balcony. Beneath each photo blazed the red caption, "Maid or Mistress." The hall erupted. Whispers, scoffs, and scorn surged like waves. So she's using Nicholas Johnson to climb up. A shameless gold digger. Amara stood frozen. All around, she saw scornful stares, mocking smiles. In that moment, the ground beneath her seemed to collapse. Just as Amara was about to fall apart, a tall figure strode onto the stage. Nicholas Johnson. He positioned himself before the screen, his deep voice thundering, "Stop this, now!" The booming sound silenced the hall. Nicholas pulled out his phone, gesturing to his aide. The screen went dark. He turned, facing the hundreds of eyes. "Amara Williams is not my mistress. She is the one I owe more than anyone in my life." The declaration hit like an earthquake. Cameras flashed wildly. Amara looked at him, her tears blurring her vision. Yet deep inside, her heart twisted, because she knew he had willingly thrown himself into the storm of scandal to shield her. The gala ended in chaos. Nicholas ushered Amara outside, away from the reporters' lenses. In the car, the air was suffocatingly tense. "Why? Why did you do that?" Amara whispered. Nicholas gripped the steering wheel tightly. "Because I will never let anyone humiliate you again." Tears slid silently down Amara's cheeks. She knew she had stepped too deeply into his world, a world of schemes, hatred, and traps she could never foresee. Meanwhile, Victoria and Richard clinked glasses in a lavish lounge, their smiles unbroken. See? No matter how Nicholas shields her, suspicion has already spread. His reputation will never be whole again. Victoria's eyes gleamed with malice. Richard smirked. This is only the beginning. The more he protects Amara, the deeper he'll sink. In the end, love itself will be the blade that destroys him. Their glasses chimed softly, like the laughter of devils. That night, Amara could not sleep. She remembered the contemptuous stares, the screen, Nicholas's public words. Fear rose in her chest. Was she the burden that would ruin him? Nicholas, in the room next door, also lay awake. He stared at Manhattan's glittering lights, his mind filled with one thought. No matter what, I will protect you. The next morning, headlines dominated the press. Billionaire Nicholas Johnson admits questionable ties to Maid. Johnson Group's stock plummeted. The board of directors called an emergency meeting. Investors fled. Nicholas walked into the boardroom, facing furious eyes. You've dragged the entire corporation down, all because of one woman. A major shareholder roared. Nicholas said nothing, his gaze icy, but inside his heart blazed. He knew this fall was only the beginning, and Amara was the eye of the storm. A misty morning in Manhattan. Loss reports sprawled out on the long walnut table in the skyscraper boardroom. Red numbers glared like wounds that would not stop bleeding. Nicholas sat at the head of the table, back straight, eyes sharp as steel. Yet deep inside, he felt an unbearable weight pressing down on him. Mr. Johnson, an elderly shareholder, stood up. We cannot allow this company to keep sinking because of your private life. Cut out the tumor named Amara Williams. If you don't, we will cut you out. Nicholas did not answer. The silver pen in his hand turned slowly, the glint flashing like lightning. He knew, no matter what he said, they would never understand. That afternoon, Amara came to Nicholas's office. Her face was gaunt, her eyes swollen red from sleepless nights. "You have to let me go, Nicholas." Her voice was hoarse. Nicholas looked up, glaring at her. "What did you say? I can't let you lose everything because of me. Johnson Group is collapsing, and the press is tearing you apart. If I stay, I only make it worse." Nicholas shot to his feet, stepping close, voice sharp. "Will leaving fix this? You think I need reputation and wealth more than I need you?" Amara turned away, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Yes. Because of me, you're losing everything. I can't live with that weight. Please, let me leave." Nicholas froze. He saw Amara's eyes for the first time as if she were ready to sever the bond between them. Amara quietly packed her things that night in the small room behind the kitchen. An old suitcase, a few simple clothes, and a photo of her younger sister. She silently pulled her suitcase through the Johnson estate gates under the lonely yellow light. From the third-floor window, Nicholas stood motionless, watching her small figure disappear. The night wind cut cold, but could not wake him from this nightmare. He wanted to run after her, to hold her tight, but thousands of responsibilities chained his legs. The gates closed, and to Nicholas, it was as if the whole world closed too. In the days that followed, the Johnson mansion grew strangely silent. No more soft footsteps in the hallway, no more faint ginger tea aroma from the kitchen each morning, no more quiet humming of Amara while tidying rooms. Nicholas woke in his vast bedroom, staring at the empty chair where Amara once sat reading. Everything felt frozen. He threw himself into work, but the harder he tried, the emptier his mind became. The tense meetings, plummeting numbers, and angry stares of shareholders were meaningless walls because his heart had lost its anchor. Victoria sipped her wine in a luxurious penthouse, her eyes gleaming triumphantly. Amara is gone. Nicholas has nothing left to hold on to. Soon enough, he'll collapse. Richard smiled coldly. But we won't stop here. The next step is to unleash the secret Nicholas has been hiding all along. Then the Johnson Group will be eradicated. Victoria tilted her head, eyes flashing with excitement. "What secret?" Richard leaned close, whispering. In an instant, Victoria's face lit with shock and wicked delight. "So, that's Nicholas's true Achilles heel." Meanwhile, Amara had found temporary work at a small community library in Harlem. It was quiet, far from prying lights, where she could finally breathe. One afternoon, as she arranged books, she heard familiar footsteps. Nicholas stood there. His suit was no longer perfect, with dark circles under his eyes, and his face shadowed. Why are you here?" Amara whispered in shock. Nicholas stepped closer, voice raw. "I miss you." Just 3 words, but they cut into Amara's heart like a blade. She turned away, pretending to sort books. "I can't come back. You need to save your company, not save me." Nicholas moved nearer, desperation burning in his eyes. "I've lost nearly everything already, Amara. But if I lose you, I'll have nothing." At that moment, a newspaper fell at the library's door. The front page headline screamed, "Billionaire Nicholas Johnson hides a family secret. A past accident linked to the death of Amara Williams' father." Amara froze, her hands trembling as she held the paper. Nicholas snatched it, eyes darkening. "Don't believe what this press writes. I'll explain." Amara lifted her tear-filled eyes, her voice breaking. "Is it true, Nicholas? My father. Did he die because of your family?" Nicholas was silent, and in that silence, the truth felt heavier than any confession. Amara staggered back, each step trembling. "I've lost everything for this love. And now you tell me. It was your family that caused me to lose my father?" Nicholas stepped forward, desperate. I didn't know. I swear, I never wanted this. But I'll find the truth. I'll prove to you. Enough! Amara screamed, tears streaming. Nicholas, there's nothing left between us. Go back to your world. Please don't drag me into your darkness again. She left the library, leaving Nicholas frozen in the cold emptiness. In the distance, Richard stood hidden among the crowd, lips curling into a smile. Perfect. 2 birds with 1 stone. Nicholas loses Amara, and his reputation is in ruins. Victoria clung to Richard's arm, laughing with satisfaction. Let's see how long Nicholas Johnson can still stand. That night, Nicholas returned alone to the mansion. The vast room was pitch black. He sat down, pouring drink after drink, eyes hollow. In his hand was a photo of him and Amara, her smile shining like sunlight. I'm sorry, Amara. His voice cracked, choked. If your father truly died because of my family's fault, I'd rather lose everything than let that mistake stand. A rare tear slid down the cheek of the man once thought invincible. In the darkness of Manhattan, a heart lay shattered. But at the same time, a fire of resolve began to burn. Nicholas knew that to keep Amara, he would have to face the darkest truth. That night in Manhattan weighed heavily. On the top floor of the Johnson mansion, Nicholas sat motionless by the window. The city below blazed like a river of light, but it was nothing more than a suffocating darkness to him. On the table, dozens of newspapers lay scattered. The bold headlines stabbed like a blade repeatedly. The Johnson family and the death of Robert Williams. Nicholas held a glass of whiskey, his hand trembling with fury. Not at the accusations, but at the look in Amara's eyes when she read them. The despair that haunted him, a reminder that if he failed to uncover the truth, he would lose her forever. Amara, he whispered, I'll uncover everything, no matter how cruel the truth may be. The next morning, Nicholas went to the company archives, the vault where Johnson Group had stored decades of contracts, reports, and records. He requested access to the files from 1998, the year of the accident that killed Amara's father. Dusty boxes were placed before him. Nicholas loosened his tie, rolled his sleeves, and began digging. Thick stacks of papers, purchase contracts, financial statements, inspection reports. And then he found it, wedged between 2 piles. Chemical plant project in Queens, 1998. He opened it. The very first page made his blood run cold. Signed under the project's approval, his father, Albert Johnson. The file stated clearly, Robert Williams, chief engineer, killed in a reactor explosion at the plant. Cause of death listed as a workplace accident due to personal negligence. Nicholas clenched the papers in his fist. Negligence? No. Amara had once told him her father was the most careful man she had ever known. He turned to the final page. A confidential report stamped in red. It noted, matter resolved. Do not disclose details of the design flaw. Nicholas froze. A design flaw. If this were true, Robert Williams hadn't died of negligence, but because his family had buried the truth. That night, Nicholas arranged to meet a former worker from the plant, Samuel Green, now in his 60s, living reclusively in Brooklyn. The older man's wrinkled face glowed under the yellow light in a dimly lit bar. His eyes on Nicholas were both wary and resentful. Why are you here? To buy my silence like your father once did? Nicholas drew a deep breath. No. I came for the truth. The older man gave a dry laugh. The truth? Your father blew it up years ago. But I remember. Robert Williams died because he tried to expose the design flaw in the reactor system. He wanted to stop the project, but Albert Johnson would not allow it. Nicholas's nails dug into his palms as he clenched his fists. Is there proof? Samuel pulled a small notebook from his worn coat. The yellowed pages bore Robert Williams's handwriting. Technical warnings recorded before the accident. Nicholas took it, hands shaking, vision blurring. At the mansion, Nicholas tossed his jacket onto a chair and sank to the floor. In his hand, the notebook remained. Each line cut into his heart. Risk of reactor explosion. If production continues, request immediate shutdown. His father, the man he had idolized all his life, had buried those warnings, leading to the death of an innocent man. Nicholas dropped his head into his hands. He felt so ashamed for the first time that he could not bear to look at his reflection. Days later, Nicholas went to the library where Amara worked. She sat at a corner table, light falling across her dark curls, her eyes fixed on a book. He stood there silently for a long moment before daring to step forward. Amara. She looked up, surprise flickering before her gaze turned cold. What are you doing here? I don't want anything to do with you anymore. Nicholas placed the old notebook on the table. Your father left this. You deserve to know the truth. Amara's hands trembled as she opened it, recognizing her father's familiar handwriting. Tears welled up, spilling down her cheeks. So, it was your father who ignored these warnings. Nicholas bowed his head, voice raw. I'm sorry. I can't change the past, but I swear I'll do everything to expose the truth and restore your father's honor. Amara bit her lip, her eyes torn with pain and conflict. But Nicholas, you're his son. Will you defy your entire family? Nicholas's hands tightened into fists. For you, for your father, I'll stand against the whole world. Meanwhile, in a luxurious office, Richard Miller received the news. He smirked as he heard Nicholas had found the notebook. Good. The more he learns, the more it will destroy him. Let him suffer for now, then we'll strike the final blow. Standing beside him, Victoria sipped her wine, eyes glittering with malice. We won't just ruin Nicholas, we'll make Amara despise him to the core. In the following days, Nicholas threw himself into digging deeper. He hired investigators, tracked down former engineers, and combed through government archives. Piece by piece, a dark truth emerged, and his father was at its center. Amara, though wanting to stay away, could not ignore the notebook or the sincerity in Nicholas's eyes. Her heart wavered. She didn't want to believe he was merely his father's shadow. One evening, when Nicholas brought her new documents, they sat in the quiet library. The golden light fell on his face, weary yet resolute. Amara looked at him, her heart tangled with pain, anger, and longing. Nicholas, you don't have to carry your father's sins alone, she whispered. He turned to her, eyes tender yet sorrowful. But I must, because if I don't, I'll lose you. A tear slipped down Amara's cheek. In that moment, the distance between them seemed to close, their hearts beating in unison once more. But the investigation had not gone unnoticed. One night, a black SUV sped toward him as Nicholas left a parking garage. He swerved in time, his car spinning and slamming into a barrier. Stumbling out, blood seeping from his knee, he watched the SUV vanish into the night. Nicholas understood then. Someone did not want the past unearthed. If he continued, he and Amara would be in danger. That night, Nicholas waited by the library balcony as Amara locked up to leave. He caught her hand, his eyes blazing in the dark. Amara, listen to me. Some people will try to stop me from finding the truth, but I won't stop. I swear I'll protect you with my life. Amara trembled. She no longer saw the icy cold kin in his eyes, but a blazing fire willing to burn everything for love. And in that moment, her heart believed for the first time. No matter the storm, Nicholas would never let go of her hand. Richard White sat brooding at his desk in a luxurious New York office. Cigar smoke curled around his graying hair, casting a hazy veil over his sharp gaze. Across from him, Victoria folded her arms, her red lips curled with arrogance. That spoiled brat Nicholas thinks he can clear the name of his little black mistress just by digging through a few old files? Richard smirked. The game has only just begun. Victoria nodded, her eyes flashing with hatred. I'll make Amara believe Nicholas is only using her. Once her trust is shattered, their love will collapse on its own, without us having to lift a finger. Richard drew a long drag, blowing rings of smoke into the air. Then let's make them suffer the most, Victoria, by turning their love into a trap. The next morning, a shocking piece of news exploded across major newspapers. Nicholas Johnson was implicated in embezzling funds from a children's charity in Harlem. Photos of Nicholas shaking hands with partners, doctored contracts, and a flood of fake emails spread rapidly on social media. Nicholas was in a board meeting when his secretary burst in, pale-faced. "Mr. Johnson, the press. They're saying you siphoned millions from the charity fund." The room erupted in murmurs, all eyes turning on him with suspicion. Nicholas clenched his fists, instantly recognizing Richard's hand in this. That evening, Amara too saw the headlines on the library's TV. Her heart clenched, watching Nicholas, the man who had sworn to protect her, now displayed on the news as a fraud. Had he used her feelings to cover up darker schemes? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. Amara avoided Nicholas. She left every message he sent and every call he made unanswered. Her heart was torn in two, half wanting to trust him, half terrified of repeating her mother's tragedy, betrayed by greed and power. One evening, Nicholas waited for her outside the library. Rain drizzled, streetlights casting a weary glow on his face. "Amara, please listen to me. This is a setup." "I didn't do anything," Nicholas said, taking her hand. She pulled away, her voice trembling. "But why does all the evidence point to you?" "Nicholas, I already lost my father because of your family. I can't survive another fall." His eyes darkened. He wanted to hold her, to promise he'd never betray her. But the invisible wall between them stood tall and cold. During their fractured bond, Victoria sent Amara an invitation to a charity gala hosted by the Johnson family. Inside the envelope was a photo, Nicholas smiling warmly beside a European businesswoman, his hand resting lightly on her waist. Victoria had scrawled a line beneath it. "Do you think Nicholas is sincere? To him, you're nothing but a passing amusement." Amara stared at the picture, her heart torn apart. Still, she resolved to attend the gala, to confront things directly, to see what was true and what was a lie. The Waldorf Astoria glittered with lights, flowing gowns, sparkling champagne glasses. The elite of Manhattan gathered in splendor. Amara entered in a sleek black dress that clung to her elegant and alluring figure. Yet her heart trembled, each step pulling her deeper into fate's grip. Nicholas spotted her from afar, momentarily stunned. He moved toward her, but before he could reach her, Victoria slid in with a sweet smile. "Amara, surprised? Nicholas is the host tonight. He's busy entertaining wealthy women. And you? You're just a spectator." She pulled Nicholas close, deliberately angling them toward the waiting cameras. Richard White stepped onto the stage at the gala's peak, microphone in hand. His booming voice echoed, "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, beyond charity, we also bring you a special revelation. The truth about a man who betrayed the public's trust. Behind him, the giant screen flashed with images framing Nicholas as guilty. Forged contracts, fake emails, spliced footage of him receiving a suitcase of money. Gasps filled the hall. Whispers and disdainful glares stabbed into Nicholas like knives. Amara stood frozen, tears brimming in her eyes. She no longer knew whom to believe. Nicholas strode forward, voice steady but firm. "These are fabrications. I will prove my innocence." Richard chuckled, eyes dripping with mockery. "And who will believe you when everything is against you?" After the gala, Amara slipped away into the night, her heart in turmoil. Nicholas ran after her, catching her arm under the sickly glow of a street lamp. "Amara, I beg you to look into my eyes. Do you think I'm that kind of man?" His eyes were bloodshot, raw with despair. Amara stared back, memories flooding in. His protection, his vows whispered in the dark. But then came the image of her father's notebook, the scars of the past, and tonight's cruel manipulations dragging her back into doubt. I don't know anymore, Nicholas. I need time." She pulled away, leaving him alone in the cold rain. Richard and Victoria watched from their car in the shadows, gazing at Nicholas's despair. "He's about to break," Victoria sneered. "One more strike, and Amara will turn her back forever." Richard nodded, his eyes sharp as blades. "Exactly. And the final blow will be the truth about her father. We'll make Amara believe Nicholas hid the evidence to protect his family's name." In the vast mansion, Nicholas sat alone in the dark. His phone lay silent, and there was no message from Amara. He replayed every memory, her smile while reading, her tears clutching her father's notebook, the trembling grip of her hand in the library. If he lost her, all the power, money, and prestige would mean nothing. Nicholas vowed, no matter the cost, he would expose Richard and Victoria, not just to save himself, but to win back Amara's trust. Outside, Manhattan still blazed as if it never slept. But inside Nicholas and Amara's hearts, a storm was brewing. On one side, a love as fragile as a thread. On the other hand, a meticulously woven conspiracy. Richard and Victoria's net was tightening, waiting for the final moment to destroy them both. Nicholas knew the real battle had only begun, and the price might be everything. After the gala night, Amara moved like a sleepwalker. She left behind Manhattan's dazzling lights and quietly returned to her small apartment in Brooklyn. Outside, the drizzle blurred the windows like a faded curtain hiding everything from view. Amara sat on the old wooden chair, clutching her father's notebook to soothe her restless heart. She wanted to believe Nicholas, but the cruel truth kept clinging to her, haunting her every second. Was he hiding something? Was it all just a game of love, with her as nothing more than a pawn in his hand? The phone suddenly rang. On the screen appeared the name Nicholas. Amara stared at it, her finger trembling on the answer button, then stopped. Just as she was about to let it go to voicemail, another voice came through. "Amara, it's Ethan. My brother. He had an accident. He's at St. Luke's Hospital." Amara's heart felt crushed. She leapt up, forgetting all hesitation, hurriedly grabbing her coat and running out. The hospital room was stark white, heavy with the stinging scent of antiseptic. Nicholas lay there, face pale, his hand bandaged. Ethan explained. He was leaving the company when a truck hit him. Lucky he survived. Amara stepped closer, her eyes blurring with tears. She sat by the bed, holding Nicholas's cold hand. The touch pulled her back, reminding her this was not a stranger, but the man who had shielded her so many times. Nicholas opened his eyes, his voice hoarse. "Amara, you came." Tears streamed down her face. All her doubts dissolved into pain, because she knew she had never stopped loving him, not even for a second. Nicholas said faintly that I didn't want you to see me like this. Amara shook her head, voice choked. I only need the truth, Nicholas. Tell me, are you involved in the charity fund scandal? He struggled to sit up, eyes burning despite his frailty. I swear to you, I never took a single cent. They're framing me. Richard and Victoria. They want to destroy both of us. Amara looked deep into his eyes. In those blue depths, there was no trace of lies, only the desperation of a man about to lose what he cherished most. I want to believe you. But Nicholas, I've been betrayed too many times. I'm so afraid. He tightened his grip on her hand, rasping. Then let me be the last time you ever have to fear. From now on, let me be the only one you trust. A few days later, after Nicholas was discharged, he defied the board of directors and decided to confront Richard himself. Amara worried, but still followed him to an abandoned construction site on the outskirts, Richard's chosen meeting place. The sky was overcast, the wind howling to warn of ill omens. As they arrived, Richard and his thugs were already waiting. Mocking laughter echoed through the cold space. Well, the lovebirds are here. Nicholas, you're bold indeed, bringing the girl along. Nicholas pulled Amara behind him, his eyes like ice. Your filthy tricks won't fool anyone. I'll expose you. Richard sneered. Do you still have a chance? It won't be evidence that disappears tonight. It'll be you. The thugs advanced. Amara gasped softly, but Nicholas gripped her hand firmly. Don't be afraid. I'm here. The fight erupted. Nicholas, though alone, fought fiercely, but the uneven numbers soon wore him down. One thug swung a steel rod toward Amara. In an instant, Nicholas lunged, shielding her. The blow landed on his shoulder, dropping him to his knees. Amara broke into sobs, cradling him. Why would you risk your life like this? Nicholas, I don't want to lose you. He forced a smile, sweat and blood mingling on his face. Because you're everything to me, Amara. From the moment I first saw you in Brooklyn, I knew, my whole life, I could only ever love one person, you. Amara trembled. Amid the chaos, his words echoed in her mind, breaking down every wall of doubt. You mean it? Even if I'm poor, even if the world stands against us? Nicholas locked his gaze on hers, eyes blazing in the darkness. I don't need the world. I only need you. Without you, nothing else is worth keeping. The howling wind, the pounding footsteps, all seemed to vanish, leaving only that moment where two hearts found each other in peril's abyss. Amara burst into tears, throwing her arms around him. I believe you, Nicholas. I believe. Just then, police sirens wailed. Flashing lights swept across the site. Richard panicked, fleeing with his men. Ethan and a few bodyguards rushed in, catching Nicholas and pulling Amara to safety. Nicholas was exhausted, but smiled faintly, seeing Amara refuse to relinquish his hand. In her eyes, for the first time, shone complete trust. No more doubt. After everything, Amara took Nicholas back to the mansion. She tended to his wounds, each gentle touch pouring sweetness into his heart. Nicholas clasped her hand, voice hoarse but firm. Thank you for not leaving me. Amara, promise me, never go away. She leaned down, whispering into his ear. Though I used to be afraid, tonight I've understood. Nicholas, I love you, and I'll stay no matter what storms lie ahead. The next morning, the first rays of sunlight streamed into the room. Nicholas opened his eyes to see Amara still by his bedside, her eyes closed in weary sleep. He reached out, brushing her hair lightly. In that moment, he knew he finally possessed the most precious thing: true love. Outside, New York City remained loud and treacherous. But for Nicholas and Amara, the wall between them had fallen. They had found each other in the storm and would never let go again.